What is going on, Movie Meals? Movie Meals, this is the podcast, episode 13, where we just kind of talk about whatever we want. So thank you to Movie Meal patrons, Kimberly and Karen. Please join the patronage. Join this to get exclusive on the podcast, all that good stuff. Today's show will probably be a bit shorter. We decided to move Cobra Kai here to have a big conversation about it. We could talk about other stuff in the world of movies. We're also going to talk about, to start, IGN came out with this top 10 anime list of all time. I thought this would be a fun place to talk about that. And we're actually, Kyle is unaware of this. We will be having a guest join in. Who do you think?
I thought.
Come on now. Come on.
I was wondering if we would. Well, that's not true. I was wondering if we should. I'll say that for this episode when I heard they wanted to talk about this. So bring our guest
I think
down.
it'd be a good conversation piece. He should be joining us any minute, so we're just gonna kind of sit here and fill the air a bit. But guys, seriously, go get some merch. It's linked down in the description. It's great. We got new merch out right now. Halloween, greater than Christmas, because it's just facts. Please go order some. Looks awesome. Join the patronage. This is exclusive on Patreon, so we want to make this. It only costs $1. It's not a lot. But please do all that. So Kyle, you're not a big anime guy. While we're waiting, we need a little filler time here. You're not a big anime guy, huh?
I have grown to enjoy anime. I just didn't grow up with it early on like you have. So I just have been always introduced into the world of anime. But yeah, just having grown into it.
What are some of the animes you've seen? We'll see if they're on the list and give a little preview here.
The few I have seen include Prince of Tennis, Ice Shield 21.
Elite. That's good. That got a redo of its anime, Prince of Tennis. Or they continued it or something with better animation?
I know there was like a 3D or a CGI Prince of Tennis movie recently, but I don't know if it's still with the show. Oh, okay. Maybe I'll check it out then. Yeah, that's news to me, but that's cool. I've seen the very, very beginning of Naruto, so like the first, 8 episodes.
There we go, baby.
I haven't gone back around to it since, but the first 8 episodes were good. I liked what I was seeing so far out of it. Occasional Pokemon. There was one other. Oh, Blue Dragon. That one,
Blue Dragon's elite.
Yeah,
you watched Attack on Titan.
I've watched it with you guys. Same with My Hero.
There he is. Hey, welcome to the show. AniEssays. Let's go. Hey, there he is. There's man.
Hello. Welcome aboard.
Get back, guys. Flashbacks right now. Kyle's in a jersey. Hey, what's going on there, my guy?
No, nothing much. Just hanging out, having quite the day.
Heck yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, we're already filming here, Nick. We're already recording. We're live. You just
caught me off
in
guard.
the middle of the show. That's the way to do it.
Glad to be here, though.
Kyle was telling us some of his anime experiences, and he watches Attack on Titan, and he doesn't even mention it. But Blue Dragon, Prince of Tennis, all the OGs.
What about Ice 21?
Oh, that was one of the first I mentioned.
Yeah,
Nick.
I knew he's seen it.
The best running back. Ever.
So Nick, for those who don't know, has his own YouTube channel. AniEssays will be linked in the description. Go check that out. He does all these great video essays. This guy, look at all those books back there. He's always wheeling and dealing with the world.
Like a nerd.
It's true.
But Nick, have you seen this list? It came out a couple days ago. I haven't seen it. I haven't even looked through it.
I have seen it. I have seen it. I've seen people being upset with it. So,
well, that's good to know. So let's
see if
I'll just go through. I have not seen it. I avoided it so we could talk about it live here. But let's just start here. IGN's a great site. They do a great job, I think, with not only video games, but they do a great job with anime and all that stuff, and TV and movies. So
great site.
So this is the top 25 anime of all time. They have Haikyuu at number 25. That immediately is ridiculous.
Yeah,
are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Indeed.
I don't even want to read why. Next is Trigun. Next is Trigun. I haven't seen that. Nick, have you seen it?
I've seen a handful of episodes. It's actually getting a remake. that will be coming out
It's
next
older.
year. It is older. It's a 90s. It's good though. I can definitely see why it's on the list. I would not argue with it. It's definitely a classic.
Okay.
I would recommend.
So now I've scrolled. Number 23, Dragon Ball Z. That seems ridiculous.
That's
Come
surprising
on.
to even
Just
me.
for the legacy. Just for the legacy. What do you think there? What do you think there, AniEssays?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, for the legacy, for Shonen Jump, it would probably be higher. But if we're talking about like, if legacy is part of it's higher, if it's not a part of it, then I don't. It probably wouldn't be on this list.
Is this the only, if you remember, is this the only Dragon Ball on the list? There's no Dragon Ball, no Z, no
Yeah,
Super?
I don't think so. Yeah, I sure hope there's
Okay,
not
well,
Super.
Super, yeah. I enjoyed Super for quite a while because it just was kind of nostalgic, but then it just became, I thought they worsened Goku as a character. They ruined a couple other characters. They got to stop reboot. Why don't you just let other shows breathe? But Dragon Ball Z, I mean, the amount of people who got into anime because of this show should be in the top 20. Come on, 3 out?
I think it's in a
this was
decent spot.
This was one of like the big
ridiculous
Toonami animes that were shown on there, right? During like the 90s and early 2000s.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah, it was like
especially for you guys growing up, it's a big deal. But there's a lot of years of anime at the same time, so
it's true.
I don't know. I mean, just for me as an outsider,
people give it credit.
The what is?
GT slaps. GT is better than people give it credit for. It's a good time.
I agree.
All right.
And I think it's a better use of the Super Saiyan. Like, how are we going to keep doing Super Saiyans? I think it's better than what they do in Super. I stand by that.
I mean, the design's better, I think. How he turns into Super Saiyan 4 isn't necessarily the greatest. He just gets a tail pulled out of his butt.
It's true. It's better than Vegeta, who builds as Bulma build him the little machine.
Yeah.
All right, so number 22 is My Hero Academia. I think this is a good spot for My Hero. I think Nick doesn't want it on the list.
Yeah, it's way too high.
Stop it, Nick.
You know, yeah, it's not my top 25 personal anime, and I definitely haven't seen enough anime. You know, like there's so many that I haven't seen that I feel like are good for it to be in the top 25 is a bit surprising. I think Dragon Ball is just better than it, and I thought Dragon Ball was close to get on the list.
I think Dragon Ball Z should at least be flip-flop with this. I think Haikyuu is better than My Hero, and I really like My Hero. There's a second half of season 3 or 4 that I think is awful when they have the video vlogger guy. The last season was okay. It wasn't great. I'm excited for the next season. I like My Hero a lot, but I do think the younger crowd they've gravitated towards it.
I think there's just a lot of shonen that do what it does better that are on the list, and that's why I think it's Haikyuu below it. I wonder if there'll be any more sports manga.
Good question. That's a good question.
Because if not, that's kind of devastating. Part of it.
Kyle, you've seen My Hero. What do you think about that?
Well, for me, it's number 1 on my list. I think it probably is that tier of anime where it's very accessible for people such as me. Like if they're first getting into anime, like you were saying, like the younger crowds, probably it's one of their favorites that is getting into it. I can see where you guys are coming from, especially with Nick here, that it's probably not really one of the greatest, but I don't know. I just think for me, like it hits the right buttons for me to where I really enjoy it, and it's one of the few animes I really go back to. But I get where you guys are coming from at the same time. Like in the span of the history of anime and whatnot, there's probably an argument to be made that it doesn't really need to be on the list, but it's the right buttons for me personally. So happy that's on there. Same with Haikyuu too.
So number 21 now, Made in Abyss. Kyle, have you seen Made in Abyss? I thought you had.
Yeah,
I thought our good friend Alex showed you.
Yeah.
So did you watch the movie as well?
Mm-hmm. Wait.
Okay, so
you did.
I think Made in Abyss around the 20s is actually a good spot just because it's not complete. As somebody who hasn't read the manga, I love the first season, loved the movie, loved the story, loved the world, loved the characters. There are those weird moments we've talked about before, but for the most part, I think this is a good spot just because I don't think there's enough of it there yet. Like Haikyuu, I'd put above this right now.
Season 3 is also airing right now, and almost
right now.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
On Funimation?
on Crunchyroll. Or actually, no, it's on
Wow.
it's on High
They're the
Dive.
same.
Sorry,
I meant Crunchyroll. They're on the
sorry,
same.
it's on
They're all
High
the same.
Dive. It's on
Huh.
another service where you would have to get the movie. But yeah, I think
Haikyuu on there?
I don't know, but I think Made in Abyss definitely belongs in the top 25. It's definitely personally I'd have it higher, but I understand why it's here. But I think for like
Mhm.
how it
Mhm.
uh, deconstructs just the fantasy genre and its place in the fantasy
Mhm.
genre, especially for anime that focuses on younger kids so much. I definitely think it belongs. I think it's one of the best anime of the last 10 years. So for
In
sure,
the top 25, I say absolutely. I just
yeah.
think it needs a little bit more time to breathe. I got to see this next season to see if I think it should be higher. I think 21's a solid spot. I like Haikyuu more though, but
I
what's
do. I mean,
next? Let's see
Haikyuu
what's
would be in my
going
top two. So you know
Especially
where
for
I'm
you
thinking.
two. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's a little
Haikyuu's
low.
that good.
Especially if
And
they
the
don't
fact
have
that
any
they're
more sports, then I think Haikyuu would be a little
yeah.
low because sports
And
is
they're
such a
not
big.
making any more Haikyuu anime, aren't they? Didn't they start
They
they're making movies.
they're making
Ridiculous.
yeah they're making two movies out of what would be a couple seasons worth of content. So
Ridiculous.
we'll see how it goes because the manga is incredible. Go read the manga.
I gotta. So
Real
number 20
quick,
is JoJo. Oh, go ahead.
sorry, I just wanted to ask why, in case if listeners don't know, and especially
They hate
me who
money
has no idea.
No,
Oh, okay.
it's probably because they will make more money. Uh,
doing the
yeah,
movies,
because the
putting them in
movies
theaters.
have been so big in Japan with Jujutsu Kaisen and Demon Slayer
Demon
and
Slayer.
Gintama.
Did
I
One
have
Piece Red do well?
I
That
think
new One
so.
Piece
I
film?
think so. I don't
I don't,
know. I
it
haven't
was
looked
the
at because is
DBZ movie that didn't.
yeah. I'm guessing One Piece Red did well because One Piece is so popular.
Mhm.
But yeah, so I think their thinking is that they can, there is the side of it that the production for fans is going to be great, but it's just the pacing of the story is going to be really cut
Different.
down. But yeah, it's more of a
Hmm.
they don't probably want to spend a couple years working on multiple seasons, and they just kind of want to get it out in one. I think they're going to come
That
out
makes
like
sense.
very quickly, but it'll probably make them more money. But I think as fans who love the end of that manga, that's so good. It is frustrating. 3 movies isn't enough for it even. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I might read it now because of that. Just because I want to know the story. I don't want to wait for movies. I want to make sure that they adapt it properly. But anyway, number 20 here, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the entire series. I have not seen JoJo's. I know it has a nice little following. I don't know if I want to say it's huge, but I feel like there's a good cult following to the show.
I th- I'd
What do you
I'd say
think?
it's huge, at least in Japan.
Okay,
It's
okay.
it's
Well, they're
it
all huge over there.
yeah, but it deserves its place on this list for sure. It
Sure. No, I don't have a reason
stylistically
against it.
on in shonen, it's fantastic. Its tone is not for everyone. It's very over the top. It's very out there. Um, but yeah, it's cool because if for those of you who don't know, because I know on the list it says all parts included. That JoJo's takes place. Each part is a different protagonist, and so we're at 6 part just is airing on Netflix actually currently, or
Wow.
just they just released episodes. But yeah, it's incredible. I think it deserves its place on this list for sure. It's also one
Is
of the
it
most.
something that you think I'd like? I haven't watched it.
I don't know. I think you could get into it. It's definitely. I'd give it a try. I mean, if you like anime, it's worth a try. I
More
feel
over
like
the top than Bo 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 Bo.
it's
You
in the
stole my
same level.
question, God. Stole my
What?
question.
It's legitimately on the same level. There
That's
are some
incredible.
absolutely absurd things. It has one of the most iconic villains named Dio. Um, part one
I
is
have to check.
probably the weakest part, so I'd at least recommend getting to part two. Part one's only like 12 episodes. It's all on Netflix,
Okay.
so
Damn it,
worth a
Al, you
watch.
stole.
Were you really gonna ask that?
Yeah, I was just waiting for an
That's
opening.
incredible.
Because you
That's
said like the
incredible.
tone, and for some reason made me think of Boba Bobo, which I've only seen like a few episodes,
The
so I guess
most
that
over the top
counts.
show I've ever
But
seen in my life.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. But
Elite.
damn it. This is why we're best friends. Anyway, we can move on now.
So now I'm scrolling number 19 Naruto Shippuden, so I would assume Naruto is put on here separately. At 19, I low key think that's an okay spot. I could have seen it been a little higher or a little lower because I think Shippuden has some of the best parts of the whole Naruto series. Jiraiya, what happens to him, everything with Shikamaru, Pain, obviously. I think there are parts of the war that really works, parts that really, really don't. So I like this spot here. I think this works for my all time favorite series with Naruto. I kind of like it. What do you think there?
Yeah, I mean, it's also tough because of how important it was. So I have a hard time for me growing up. So I have a hard time like separating my feelings growing up with it. But I feel like it probably deserves its place on the list. I mean, the list is leaning a little shonen heavy with Naruto, JoJo's Haikyuu, My Hero, Dragon Ball Z. Like we are leaning into Shonen Jump long running series a little much, maybe, which is why the My Hero inclusion doesn't seem apt. But for a company that's in the West, Naruto is, if it's when you're coming from that perspective of how important it was in the West, it definitely deserves its place, I think, on here. I mean, it was part of the big three for a reason. And I'm
Yeah.
guessing Bleach didn't make the top three or the top 25. So out of, I don't
Oh
know, I
no.
can't remember, but I'd be shocked if they put Bleach higher than Naruto. So, I mean, at least two of the three.
Bleach
I
is
mean,
on my list.
all three of them would probably deserve being there. So yeah, I think any
I guess
higher is tough though.
I guess for me, I'm a little surprised because I thought the perception was Naruto Shippuden wasn't very beloved, but I kind of figured that was because Naruto was, by the sounds of it, as great as it could get. So to see it on this list for me was kind of a surprise, but by the sounds of what you guys are saying, that it did have a good influence on like the Naruto show before it. It still did like really great things, all things considered, and um, seems like it was an okay spot for you guys. So I'm
Yeah.
just curious, like if I'm wrong with that perception, or is it a bit not say divisive, but something along those lines?
You know,
I think.
I
Go
think
ahead.
of it
No,
as
you go ahead.
one entire thing more than I
It's
like. I
written
don't
as
really
one.
think they're as separate as they often are put on lists. Like it is just
Yeah,
the
I
continuation of the
agree.
same story with a time skip. There isn't like it's I don't think of anyone who thinks of them as two different series. And I think the original has higher quality throughout. And so I'm a little surprised that they chose to combine all the JoJo parts, which are actually technically all separate stories, even though they're still kind of connected. Where Naruto is just one linear story. Like I don't know why they made the distinction. Um, Especially if I don't know if Naruto is on this list or not, the original, but if it's not
Hmm.
any higher, it's a definitely an odd choice I think to separate them.
Naruto's not on this list. I would be shocked. I think Naruto a lot. I mean, obviously, anime has exploded in mainstream culture, especially over here. I mean, it's always been big in Japan, but especially over here and around the world, I think it's exploded. And Naruto, I think, has gotten the treatment more divided from any other anime that I've seen. I feel like there's a camp of people who absolutely hate it now, and there's a camp of people who are way over the top with their love for it. I mean, I just rewatched the whole series a little less than a year ago, and truly, it's very engaging with a little bit of a lull at the very beginning of the time skip, but once you kind of get into it and you get through some of those crazy episodes after they deal with Gara, and that I think is okay. But after that, it really starts to pick up and be great again. But it was written as one,
Yeah,
and he always planned it as one story. So I also agree with Nick that it's weird that they're separate here, especially if there's other anime that I'm thinking of off the top of my head that might belong here. But all right, let's keep going. Let's see. Oh, let's see. Like next one, number 18, Death Note. Just rewatched it. Got them all right here. I love Death Note. I think it's great. I love the ending more when I watch it. I still don't. I agree with a lot of points people make about the endings and what happens to characters, but I think it belongs here. I could have seen it a little lower or like higher up on the lower on the list, but I'm okay with this spot.
So do you mean like top 10 you were assuming, or do you
If it
mean
had been
like
like
higher?
20, I think it would have been okay
Oh,
to have been there because I think Death Note did a lot for people at its time. I think it still holds up as one of the best kind of stories that are wrapped up and finished. But I it does have its own issues and it's not for everybody. But what do you think, Nick?
I mean, I definitely think it belongs in the top. I mean, again, we are leaning into shonens, another shonen jump, so this list is very shonen focused. But I mean, I love Death Note. Um, yeah, I think it fits well on at this spot on the list. Um, it's an amazing series. I love it. At one point, it was like one of my favorite series. I think for a lot of people, when they, it's a great gateway show.
It is a great gateway
And
anime.
there are a lot of amazing things with it. So when you were talking top 25, these are, it's also created by people who have made a lot of series like Bakuman, which is a manga about making manga. And so I think getting them represented, I know they're not the ones who made the anime, of course. But yeah, I think it deserves to be on this list. I think it's in actually a pretty good spot.
Okay.
I'd agree to that. Number 17 is Attack on Titan. As somebody who knows how it ends, I think this is way too low. To me, Attack on Titan is a top 5. And I think when the anime actually finally ends, it will be there or it won't be. I don't know. People really seem to also be divided on this one, but I think it through what the anime that's out, I get kind of why some people have it here. I think there's a lot of frustrations that it's been taking forever to finally wrap this story up. But what do you guys think?
Well, real quick, my thoughts. I kind of was thinking about Attack on Titan, assuming that was going to be on this list, but the reason being is kind of similar to My Hero, to where it's kind of a introductory of anime for a new generation almost. I'm not saying like in terms of the story they're similar or that they're on equal playing fields, because I do think Attack on Titan is the better story and probably the more interesting concept for
And
sure.
you're not
Even though
even
I
caught
haven't,
up.
yeah, exactly, and I haven't even been caught up with the show at all.
And you
But
should.
um, I felt like that this one was going to be on this list, at least within the top 10, at least part most likely because of the popularity of it. But I just haven't gone all the way through the show, so I don't really have an agreement of it. But not surprising to see it on this list either. Probably deserving of it too. I just haven't been caught up with it, but I assumed it would be on there just based on like this huge wave and effect that it had on anime fans, but also like um, the new wave of fans coming through.
Yeah, I mean,
Nick?
I mean, I love Attack on Titan. I definitely think it could definitely be higher, because it has had the side of it that like a lot of these back end ones have, of this like big cultural penetration and introducing so many people to anime in the West. But also, I think Attack on Titan's story is as good as anything that I've experienced, especially with the anime and the anime's production, even if Mappa's handling of season 4 has been a little hit or miss. The first 3 seasons, specifically season 1, is so incredible. Also, season 1, same director as Death Note. Um, and so the anime production side of it is also just incredible. It hits all those boxes where, when you're considering Naruto, My Hero, there's animation slumps with all of those productions. They aren't able to keep it up because they're so long. And so when we're talking about anime, we're not talking about the manga side of it, which is something that's like hard to distinguish sometimes. But I definitely think it could be higher here. And I know there's like a small portion of very loud fans who aren't big Attack on Titan fans. Think it's very normy. Um, but I
Hmm.
could see it being higher because I think it checks all the boxes for sure.
It does.
Okay.
I think it absolutely does. It's so good. Next is Orin High School Host Club. I have not seen it. I know it's huge. This isn't shonen, right? This can't be shonen, is it?
No, it's not. I don't think.
So what, Nick? Have you seen it? What do you think about this? I
I,
don't know why I've never seen it.
I've seen a handful of episodes, so I don't want to be too harsh with its placement, but I definitely don't think it belongs on this list. It's like a fun show, but from what my understanding of it, it doesn't really go past that. I don't really think it does a lot in its genre that it's in. I don't know. I just think it's definitely a reach to put it here, especially above Death Note and Attack on Titan. and Haikyuu.
Yeah.
Seems like
That's
a bit of
fair.
a stretch.
So number 15 is Devilman Crybaby. I've seen this. Have you seen it, Nick?
I have not. No, I haven't seen anything from it, but it feels like it might be high.
Yeah, I think that's very high. I like Devilman Crybaby, but it is not for everyone. I
Yeah.
mean, its animation style is very unique and very cool, and I liked its story, but its story is also a bit loose compared to a finished product like a Death Note or even Haikyuu through most of it, or Naruto. I would not put this here. I would have put it way farther up the list and put some things further down. Um, I think this is like an edgy, fun pick that they chose to do at IGN, but it is. I've never recommended it to anybody because I'm not sure how to recommend it. It's that like crazy and weird and messed up, and I do like it, but man, 15 is high for this.
Yeah, I've not
What
seen it.
exactly is the show about? Does anyone?
I
Well, Alex, do
truly
you?
don't know if I could explain it to you. I don't even think I could.
Fair. I took a shot there.
It's like it deals with gods and angels and demons and monsters and all this. It's weird.
Like spiritual level stuff, maybe, or like the concepts of like God versus the devil.
Kinda, Kyle. I can't explain it. I also
I'm
haven't
trying to help
watched
you
it in
out
like
here.
6 years, but no, but it's that weird. Like I can't explain it because it's that crazy. And I remember things that happen. I remember characters and some of the stuff with gods and angels. It's a lot about the fallen angel and Lucifer and like what he does when he comes to. But it's a trip. It's a trip. Uh,
Sounds fun.
if you're curious, I'd check it out. It's only 10 episodes, and that's another
Yeah,
thing. 10 episodes is not a lot to be
easy.
15 on a list,
Yeah.
especially if you're gonna have Made in Abyss. That does so many things better, I think, than Devil May Cry Baby. But now we're at
Okay.
14 with Demon Slayer, and I think this is pretty high. 14, I would have pushed it back a little bit. I love Demon Slayer, but I would push it back a little bit myself. I've only known the anime, haven't read it. What do you think, Nick?
I think I'd push it back too. I don't think I'd have it on the list. It's a little. I mean,
At
it's
all?
I wouldn't have it in the top 25. I don't think.
You may
Even
be
though
thinking
I
it more than
really
me, but I would.
even though I really enjoy Demon Slayer and the animation's awesome and Ufotable's
Incredible.
done great jobs with it. I think there's some other Ufotable shows, aka Fate Zero. I don't know if that's on the list, but that would be better to show off their great animation.
I like Fate
Um,
Zero.
and while Demon Slayer has been so massive and is just destroying the industry for how big it is, like it's just so much bigger than anything else. Destroying it in a good way. Um, but on the other hand, I mean, I prefer it to My Hero, but I still think this is a lot of shonen to have on the list, and I don't think it's done enough in its what we've got. Not even 40 episodes of it,
Yeah.
or maybe just right
Oh, I thought
around
there was
there.
more.
There's a 25 episode season, a 12 episode season, right, and then a movie, which have all been very
Okay.
solid. I think it's a very, very good show, but for it to be in the top 25, um, might be a little hasty, I think.
I like the top 25. I just think it's high for its spot. I think that's a lot of what's popular now. It gets a bad rep for having a simple story, but if you look at a show like One Piece, just about a kid being a pirate. Like it's not it's at the base level if you're going to take it there, you can make anything simple. I think it does a good job with this kind of more simple story, but the animation is incredible. Some of the fights are the best fights I think I've ever seen on TV. They're so good, but
Yeah.
it is a little high. Next, Code Geass, Lelouch of the Rebellion. Nick, you're a big fan of Code Geass. What do you
Yeah,
think?
love it here. Definitely one of my favorite shows of all time. Uh, there's definitely some things with the narrative that maybe can be picked apart, especially in the second season, the second half of Code Geass. It still has, I think, my favorite ending of anything ever. Specifically, the last episode. It really it really lands on its feet well. And even if it struggles a little before that. So I definitely see it being on the list. I do view it pretty similarly um, to Death Note. Came out around the same time, both about genius boys uh, having some fun playing their games. But it's also an anime original, which I think is really cool that it makes it on the list.
That is
What does
cool.
that
Yeah,
mean
I
exactly?
Mean
Sorry,
not
Al,
based
but
off a manga.
Yeah, not based off of a manga
oh,
beforehand. So
gotcha. Okay.
most of the anime on this list, I think all of them so far, but I'm guessing most of them by the end of the list were based off of manga. But Code Geass
Hmm.
is not. It was totally original. I
I've
don't know
seen the
if it was.
first
It
season.
could have been based maybe off of a visual novel, but I'm not totally sure.
I've seen the first season and the first 2 episodes of season 2. I like Code Geass. I don't love it as much as other people. I watched it later in life. I don't think Lelouch is as great of a character as everybody says. I got to finish it to be fair, but that's part of the reason I stopped, just because I was just not into it as much anymore. But so to me, it's a little high. Like I like Demon Slayer more than this right now, but I get it. I get what it's done for people. All right, number 12 is Samurai Champloo. I don't
Yeah,
know. I've never even heard of this.
really,
This character design looks familiar,
you
but I
should
can't
watch it.
think.
It was on
Looks like
Netflix for a
Cowboy
while.
Bebop style.
It's the same director.
That would make a
Oh,
lot
it
of
does say
sense.
in the
Is it good?
description after Cowboy
It's
Bebop,
great.
the director. Okay, yeah.
I don't know
Do you
if
like it where it's ranked at 11
I mean, it's a
or
little
12?
yeah, it's a little high for 11 or 12. Um, I'm hoping that they have Cowboy Bebop on the list somewhere, which I do think is better.
Yeah.
Um, but Samurai Champloo is a great. Uh, it's also very episodic, about three people just traveling around pretty much. Really great animation, great music, as to be expected with that kind of a production. I would definitely highly recommend it. I don't know if I'd put it in my top 25. It's probably close, um, but I can understand why it's here. I believe it's another anime original as well,
All
which is
right.
good.
I dig it.
Yeah,
I
I
got to
mean,
check that out.
if this guy's able to have this and Cowboy Bebop,
pretty impressive.
on IGN's list, that's impressive to that creator
Yeah.
or
Mhm.
whoever is in charge of the show. So,
So,
that's it could be cool. That's kind of
number
cool.
11, Benakano, is that how you say it?
Bakano.
Bakano? I have never heard of it. Tell us about it, Nick.
Fantastic. It is definitely deserves to be in this spot for sure. Um, yeah, it's a short, it's a 12 episode, but I do think there are so many 12 episode animes that it does
They say
fit.
this is 16
Oh,
episodes.
maybe 16, but it is a shorter anime, but there is so many that are shorter that I think it fits. Um, to have a couple on the list. It's also came out, I think, in 2007, so right around Death Note, and it's a plot line that has multiple different uh, characters in different time periods that all connect by the end of the series, and it is just like really gory. There's some like great pulpy kind of hitman stuff in it. There's some magic stuff going on in it. It is
Hmm.
one of the best
I'll have to check
soundtracks
it out.
too. It's yeah, you guys would love it. I'm sure. I think it definitely
Check it
belongs
out.
on the list.
That sounds pretty cool,
Yeah.
especially the pulpy
So
part of it. That sounds interesting.
now we're in the top 10. We don't want to take all of Nick's evening, but now that we're in the top 10, we have FLCL. I don't know what
Fool,
that is.
Fooly Cooley.
Cooley Cooley. This looks familiar. I've seen this image that they have on
Probably.
IGN before, but I don't know much about it.
So it is a more experimental show that's very well regarded. I've watched it, and I did not love it. So for me, it would definitely not be in my top 25. But
Wow.
I really understand a lot of people. It's one of their favorite anime. I think it was a lot of it really does push the boundaries of just like having insane animations, really experimental, trying to figure out kind of what's going on. And so for how people talk about it, I can see why. I don't know if there's just like something didn't click with it for me. So I wouldn't put it this high, but it's also another short one that I would, this is so far been a pretty good primer list at the very least of like anime that you should check out. And if you watch these, you have a decent base. And this would be one I would recommend you check out and kind of see for yourself if it works for you or
All
not.
right.
Because I think that's kind of how it will be.
Hmm.
All right. Well,
Right
number
on.
9 is Yu Yu Hakusho. I love Yu Yu
Damn.
Hakusho. I've not watched it in a long time, but to me, it's a little high. I think it's a bit dated now, I guess. But man, that is nostalgia right there. Like
Yeah.
I loved Yu Yu Hakusho. Some of those battle like tournament arcs that they do are like
The Dark
still the
Tournament.
best tournament arcs. Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, so I
But what do you think?
rewatched Yu Yu Hakusho a couple years ago, maybe 2019. Um, and it's still very good. I definitely prefer it to like Demon Slayer and My Hero Academia. Um, I don't know if I would have it on the list. It'd be close. Um, it's a very good shonen, but I also think the creator of Yu Yu Hakusho, Tagashi, does a little bit better with his next series, that I'm assuming is on the list higher if they're having Yu Yu Hakusho this high.
Why
Um,
can't I think of what that show is?
well,
I
I'll tell
should
you when
know.
we get there. You'll laugh.
All right. All right. Well, anything else?
But yeah, I can see why it does have. If you are a big fan of a '90s animation and you want to experience a shonen, this is the one to go watch. I would say, especially it has aged
Good to
pretty
know.
well, especially once you get past the first 20 episodes, which are a little more episodic and are a little bit slower. Uh, if you want that kind of '90s hit of nostalgia, I'd go check it out again.
Sweet. Number 8, Neon Genesis Evangelion. I think this belongs in the top 10. I think this slaps. It's one of the best animes Nick's recommended to me that I had kind of seen before, but not really. And I adore everything about it. It's
Yeah.
fantastic. I love it. I love its message. I love it. Kyle and I, when we were talking about a very bad movie earlier, and Don't Worry, Darling,
Oh, it
I was
was
talking
bad.
about how shows, movies, they need to have a through line that you can leave with questions, but you need to answer some questions as well. And Neon Genesis does that, I think, almost perfectly. It leaves you guessing in the perfect way. But
Yeah.
what do you think?
Oh yeah, one of my favorite shows. Absolutely incredible. Neon Genesis. It's definitely a staple. Obviously, it has that '90s anime. It's another anime original. Um, the ending's a bit divisive, but the movie, with it that redoes the ending is also fantastic. I love both the endings. Love Shinji.
Mm-hmm.
Um, some people are going to bounce off Neon Genesis. There's no doubt about that. It's so bizarre sometimes in the directional choices that he takes with the elevator
Mm-hmm.
scene, for one, which is likely not
Mm-hmm.
just due to budget constraints, or time constraints. And a lot of the ideas can maybe bounce off people, but it's definitely worth a try. Like, if you want to get into anime or you want to expand the anime you've seen, this is just like one of the first ones you go to. Incredible.
So I think I just had a facepalm moment. So number 7, Hunter x Hunter. Is
That
that's our
is,
boy,
yep,
right? That's our boy.
Tagashi,
That makes a lot of sense. I couldn't believe I
the
couldn't think of that.
king.
Hunter x Hunter
He's returning.
rules.
He's back.
I've been thinking about rewatching it lately. Because
Do it.
this is a great show. It's a great use of power. It's a great use of everything. I didn't love a few little details within the show world, where some episodes I just didn't
Unbelievable.
care as much about. I wanted to move on and get somewhere else. Like there's times I think Chimera Ant Arc we can move on a little bit here. Let's get to the things I want to see, but I think 7's actually a pretty good spot for it. Hunter x Hunter is awesome.
I've seen a little in the beginning of this show, and I've really enjoyed it. But again, I'm really bad at like circling back to shows, so this is kind of unfortunately in that territory. But it is excellent, and I get why people like it so much. I'm in agreement with Alex when it comes to like the power set stuff. Like, there's something about it where there's rules, but also no rules at the same time. Like, it just has a perfect in between place of like being grounded but being fun with its premise at the same time. Um, the part that I think I was last on, or at least some parts of it that I remember in the beginning, I felt kind of took a bit longer than necessary. So maybe that improves as the rest of the show goes on. But that's like my really small gripe about it, because I'm still, I still was invested and I still liked the characters and the world that it was in. So yeah, I think that's really cool that it's here and that's that high and that beloved. That's awesome.
Nick?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely deserves to be in the top 10. I would put it higher even. I think it's I actually just finished my rewatch of it a couple weeks ago. I think as far as anime goes, and not counting the manga, I think it's the best shonen anime. Um, and so for how much shonen they've had on this list, I think, and I know I'm guessing there's one that they're going to put above it, which I don't necessarily hate, but their choice to potentially do that. But yeah, Chimera Ant arc is probably my favorite individual arc of anything ever. Like I love it so much. But I pretty much love everything.
Love it.
I pretty much love everything about Hunter x Hunter. I have rewatched it like 4 times now, and I'm very glad that the manga creator is coming back. I hope
Back
he
to it.
Tagashi is can stay healthy and doesn't push himself too hard. But very exciting that he's coming back. So if you haven't read the manga and you've seen it, I would definitely recommend going on to check out uh, everything that happens next because it's so good. But also, I do think the anime does improve on a few of the shortcomings of Tagashi's ability to draw, whether it's been his health, not allowing him to make the panels as detailed as he'd want to, the kind of quality can go up and down. He's a great artist when he has the you know the health to do so. But the anime, the production of it, and it's 148 episodes, is consistently incredible and specifically actually gets better as it goes on to where in the Chimera Ant arc
I
it's
agree.
absolutely fantastic and it has great music throughout versus some of these other long running shonens that have a production that's up and down. Hunter x Hunter is the most steady, I'd say. So yeah, 2 thumbs up from
So
me.
number 6 here is Mob Psycho 100. Something I hear about all the time, and always go, "Is today the day I started?" And I don't, but I need to check it out.
Yeah, I've only seen a handful of episodes of Mob Psycho. I know season three's about to come out, and I really should pick it up and catch up because I really enjoyed it. It's by the same author, or it's based off of the manga from the same author who did One Punch Man. Um, and I don't love One Punch Man. I think I prefer what I've seen of Mob Psycho to it, but I can see why it's on this list this high for not being traditional shonen or like as traditional. I think it still might be shonen, but I think it fits. I mean, maybe it's a little high, but people seem to really love it.
Sure. So number 5, Hajime no Ippo. Am I saying that
Yeah,
right?
Hajime no Ippo.
I've never seen it. What I've heard of it, but what have you seen it?
I've also only seen a few episodes of it. It is a boxing anime, so I'm glad that there's another sports anime, and I'm glad from reputation wise that this is the one that's on here. I've never heard anyone say that they didn't love it who's seen
Huh.
it or read it. And so I think it probably deserves its place on this list. Uh, sports anime and manga is such a big part of the industry, and they put out so much great stuff, and so I'm glad that there's one in the top 10. And I can't comment on it sadly, but I've from everything I've heard, it really deserves its place on this list.
Yeah. I got to check it out. They on IGN they say picture a mashup of Rocky and the Karate Kid, and you had me at picture.
Yeah.
um, so number 4 is Monster. I
Yes.
have never even heard of it. I don't think that picture looks familiar though. What do you think?
Definitely, uh, definitely deserves its list spot on the list. It's a darker seinen series by one of the. It's based off of the manga by one of the best mangaka I think I've read, Urasawa, who did 20th Century Boys and Pluto, and of course Monster. Um, it's has one of the greatest like antagonists in Johann Liebert. It's kind of just as like a general basis for you guys. It's about like the idea of what if you're a doctor and you make the choice, you have two people to save. One is a baby, and one's a politician. But the baby gets there first. But everyone loves this politician. It's very well respected. You save the baby, and then the baby grows up to be a serial killer and be one of the worst people imaginable. And that's kind of
Oh,
the exploration of it.
Jeez.
Um, very dark.
it can't be very long.
It's pretty long. And it has way
Oh,
more
wow.
nuances to that. It's pretty long. I can't remember the exact episode. There's a lot more nuance
Wow.
to it than that. A lot of great twists and turns that I don't even want to spoil at all. Just that kind of base idea. It's fantastic.
All
Highly
right. Well,
recommend.
number 3, arguably the greatest story ever told, One Piece. I am okay with One Piece as the show being in the top 5. I think 3 is a great spot for it. I think after about 600 of the 1,000 something episodes they have out,
God.
it
Yeah.
starts to really dip. Its animation quality goes way up, but I
Yeah.
think in the terms of how they structure and handle it, really struggles. Not only with filler, but like they'll do a 3 to 5 minute intro recap, 8 minutes of content, and then a bunch of outros and what's on next week. And so
Yeah, that
I think
happened
they've
a lot.
struggled.
At
Go
the
ahead.
anime is actually doesn't do that as much in the last like 2 or 3 years, which but
Good.
up to like at least Dressrosa, which I know where you stopped because it got
That's
so
where I
bad.
stopped because I was
Um,
so over it. I was so
but
over it.
yeah, so I mean One Piece, if we're talking manga, I think is what
Greatest.
yeah, is so good. And I might
You
put
caught
One
up?
Piece a little I am incredible.
I'm
Um,
about 2 back.
well, you
Love it.
should read because there's a couple of big
I
reveals.
know. I've heard. I've heard.
Um, but but because the anime, like you said, has had some production issues. When you look at it big picture, when you look at it weekly, right now, it's like, wow, I wish they were doing this since episode 1, because
Mhm.
it looks so good for how they've adapted Wano, which is nice that they're like at least giving it a great go here now. But because the anime production's a little bit weaker, I would probably put it a little bit further back. That's why I would have Hunter x Hunter above it, even if I might have those two flipped when we're talking manga. Although I don't know if I would. They're pretty darn close for me. But
Yeah.
obviously, One Piece is king, and it's I can't argue with it being this high. You know,
It's fair. It's fair, Kyle. Get started today.
get
All
started
1,000
today.
eps.
Yeah,
Good
You need to
God,
be done by
1,000
the end of the
episodes.
week.
yeah.
Good God, that's insane.
So
Good on that show, but
number 2 is Cowboy
Jesus.
Bebop. And before we get too far into it, I got to say, having just Shippuden on this list and not Naruto in it together is idiotic to me. Because I would imagine it's not number 1. Um,
I don't think it
so
is.
I think that's I think that's a bit ridiculous. Why would you put all of JoJo's? I think you were saying that earlier, but not have Naruto and Naruto Shippuden? Maybe that was their intent. I don't
Yeah,
know,
maybe
but
that's what they were thinking,
that's a
but
bit of a disservice. I think Naruto belongs there. Anyway, Cowboy Bebop, amazing. I think it's great.
amazing.
Quick show, great soundtrack. It's got it all.
Yeah, great direction. It is one that I think definitely could be appreciated more on rewatches because it's doesn't really have a plot, and
I
but that
agree.
is what makes it so great is because of the episodic nature. It is the greatest episodic thing I think I've ever seen. It if you want to like it's a masterclass on how to do that story structure, because it's so
Mm-hmm.
hard to do to keep an audience interested when every episode is so different,
Mm-hmm.
especially when they're dealing with such adult themes and adult characters. Yeah, I don't have enough positive things to say about Cowboy Bebop. Even though
Kyle, have
I
you seen
wouldn't
Cowboy
have it
Bebop?
necessarily this high, I see why it is.
I would agree. Kyle, have you seen Cowboy Bebop?
No, but I've heard all the
You should.
accolades about it. I've heard it's fantastic. Definitely one that eventually I need to start watching. But
Mm-hmm.
I was expecting it to be in the top 10, and as we were slowly going down, I was like, is it going to be top 3
Yeah,
or is it not going to be in here at all? Real quick, I went back to Naruto Shippuden on the list, and it mentions Naruto and how good it is, but their reasoning for Shippuden was that it takes a darker, more serious tone due to the characters aging. But
What?
I
What?
I don't shoot the messenger. That's just what I'm.
My
And
guy, Gara
Kyle, I can't believe
literally
you have that opinion, Kyle.
crushes people with
it's not my
sand.
opinion.
No,
I'm reading
I
what I.
can't I can't handle that. I actually don't think the tone changes that much. They do grow up, but I don't necessarily think they deal with less darker things. In
Yeah,
fact, it might even be
Sure.
lighter in Shippuden, I would argue. I mean, some of the stuff that I'm picturing in my head right now with especially Gara in Naruto is
yeah,
just that's as dark as you're going to get.
yeah. It
That's
seems weird to
that's a
make
bit
the
So
nuts.
weird.
distinction.
Yeah, that is weird. I agree.
Remember
Anyway,
when
number one.
Shippuden was
Go
on
ahead.
Disney XD? Does anyone else remember that
Yeah, I
real
do. It
I
quick?
was
do.
bad. It was
It's
bad.
wild.
We were
Okay.
reading.
What
I
a
was reading
weird
by then.
time. What a
But
weird
yeah,
time. Anyway,
Kyle, if you want to check out Cowboy Bebop, or anyone who hasn't seen it and wants to check it out, I would definitely recommend it. Trying to get through at least the 5th episode, because
Mhm.
episode 1's really good, and then I think the weakest 3 episodes in the series are 2, 3, and 4, and they're not terrible, but episode 5 is so great. It is one of the best episodes out of the 26.
It's great.
Um, it is incredible. So I would give it that go. Um,
good to know.
and I'd be shocked if you watch episode
On
5 and
Netflix, I
you're
believe
like,
still.
I'm gonna move on. It's so good.
I'll let you know.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So number one, no surprise, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. I've seen Full Metal be getting a bad rep here lately, and I don't appreciate it because I think people don't understand. Now, Kyle, have you watched Brotherhood, or did you just watch Full Metal the original, which should have probably been on this list? But
No, I saw both. I did the
you
binge
did
model and did
watch
Full
all.
Metal and then Brotherhood. Admittedly, I was a bit burnt out by the end of Brotherhood because I was binging and going through it probably a little too fast. So I try
Not
not to
fast enough.
binge as quickly anymore. But I do get why Brotherhood is so beloved, and I do think it um kind of goes a little fast at like repeating what the first one did,
The
the
beginning,
first
yeah,
show
for
did,
sure.
but then afterwards, once it gets past that, then the really interesting character stuff is where it
Hmm.
still sticks in my head for sure. So I wish I I wish I wasn't burnt out by the end of it because the ending was great, but I still am able to remember that show a lot better than, say, like, me mentioning Blue Dragon earlier. As goat tier
Love
as Blue Dragon is,
It is, yeah.
it.
Full Metal Brotherhood is where it's at for sure.
Nick?
Yeah, it's my favorite show, so I'm very biased. It definitely deserves its place. I don't think anyone can argue it doesn't deserve its place really in the top 25. Definitely deserves its place at number 1, I think.
I'd be shocked
I
if
do
it's not
wish
top
some of
10.
the fans of Full Metal would stop giving us such a bad rap with whenever a new series on my anime list, where a lot of ratings go, a new anime will come out like Attack on Titan, and it'll take over Full Metal's spot as number 1, and then Full Metal fans will bomb rate it, and rate it
Mm.
1 star, so Full Metal's number 1 again. I wish the few fans wouldn't do that, because it gives Full Metal a bad rap and makes people think that it's overrated because people are going to such lengths to keep it at number 1. But it is my favorite thing ever. So like obviously I think it deserves its spot here.
Just stop review bombing in general for
Yeah.
everything because it happens all the time and I'm over it. Full Metal, there's only one other show that I think is so well done where you can go from laughing to crying the next second, where the characters are so well written and handled and the story's so great, and that's Avatar: The Last Airbender. Those are the only two shows I truly think are that good at being able to do that. Full Metal absolutely should be number 1. I keep watching all these new anime, and then I go back every couple of years, we watch Full Metal, and I go, how it still just can't beat it. It's just, this is still my favorite. It's just that good. I'm going to rewatch it here soon in a couple months after we get through Harry Potter, which
Yeah.
takes forever. Probably in a month or so, we'll probably start Full Metal. But
Love
all
it.
right, well, yeah, Naruto being off the list. Nick, was there anything you felt shouldn't, before you go real quick, anything you thought should have probably been on this list
The only thing
somewhere?
I think that the list is kind of missing is, like, one is any isekai anime, which is such a massive part of anime culture, which is the escape into a different world. I wake up and I'm in a video game. I wake up and I'm in a fantasy world. Is that kind of genre, which has exploded. One of the titles that comes to mind is ReZero.
Give some, yeah.
That's really good.
Okay.
Another title, another comedy deconstruction of it that I know we both love is Devil's a Part Timer. I'm in a fantasy world and
Great.
I end up at McDonald's. Um,
Great.
so there's a lot of shows like that that I think, if we're talking about top anime of all time, probably deserve a couple slots on the list. We have so much shown in battle series. Another is like magical girl shows like Sailor Moon,
Love
or
it.
even Madoka Magica, which is a deconstruction of the magical girl genre, and it's absolutely incredible on Netflix. Not very long. Definitely would recommend. I'm surprised Fate Zero wasn't on the list, or any of the Fate franchise wasn't. It's
Yeah.
kind of a big staple. But yeah, so I just think it's a little shonen battle heavy. Makes sense. That's the most popular genre. But I think it's a very solid primer into, things that you should try, and everyone should try to check off. The few that we haven't seen, like Hajime no Ippo, um,
Mm-hmm.
definitely need to check off the
I'm gonna do it.
list. Uh, yeah, for sure. But I think overall, I
Awesome.
don't think there was anything super outrageous. I know a lot of people are going to throw arms at My Hero and Demon Slayer, and I agree with you, but I don't think anything was too crazy.
Sure. I gotta watch them all and make my own opinion. But what any commenters? What'd you think? Comment below. Let us know. Thanks for joining us, Nick. AniEssays as always. An absolute
Go
No,
check
thanks
stud
out
of the
the
for having me.
game.
channel.
Yeah.
Go check it out. I think we'll just end the episode there, Kyle. We can do Cobra Kai separately as its own thing.
Yeah.
This was perfect. So, all right,
Well,
guys. Thanks for watching. Go get some merch. Go check out his channel. All that good stuff. And as always, thanks for watching, Mom.
See you guys.